Katie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. And Suzanne, welcome. How we doing?
Great. It's a lovely Monday here in Ottawa. Katie and I can both
Yeah.
attest to that. How are things over in Kelowna?
Our weather's been beautiful. No complaints, beautiful mornings, and yeah, just hoping we get some rain at some point.
Well, we've had lots, so you can have some first.
And so, Katie, we always love to start these conversations with our guests to hear a little bit about your story and how did you get into doing the work that you do today?
Sure. So yeah, I was always an athlete. So I was always really into sports and exercise, but I didn't really know why. I don't think naturally, right? You're a kid and I just started realizing, oh wait, like I can make friends like this and I feel better. I always had better marks when I was playing a sport. And when I hit university and all that went away, I didn't play any university sports first year. My anxiety and depression went through the roof. Like I was struggling. And to make a very long story short, I realized through my, late teens, early 20s that moving my body, prioritizing my wellness was like the best antidepressant. And this was before, I'm 45. So like this was a while ago. We weren't talking about this as much then. And so I just had this passion for promoting health. And this is before even you could do anything in health promotion. It was more like you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a phys ed teacher. Those kind of the two choices. Yeah, so I did an undergrad in human kinetics at St. FX, and I just loved this concept. I just felt this draw all the time to be like, why isn't everybody doing this? Like, why isn't everybody going to the gym? Or why isn't everybody? Because you feel so much better. And the bottom line, what I would see in my undergrad, or even when I took a year off to backpack New Zealand, was this society was just giving us these messages around, diet to lose weight, to look good, to then love yourself. And it was just kind of heartbreaking for me. And it really started this bigger journey around why is it that some people like us here can really maintain healthy habits? Like we can buy in, we can become who we are, right? We can build these identity-based habits, and some people really struggle. They have all the best intentions and they really, really want it, but they don't stick to it. So that was kind of the question that always drove me. So I went back and did a master's at Queen's, and at that then it was health psychology, some sports psychology, and 18 years in the federal government, so doing some real cool behavior change work at the federal level. But the whisper became the yell, became the scream to do more of that group and one-on-one coaching around habit change. So I left the government last year. Actually, I built my business for 5 years, ripped the golden handcuffs off, and that's kind of the journey, but that's really the why, right? It's like, how can I take what I understand now around health psychology, neuroscience, my own personal experience, and the women I've coached for years now, and help other people kind of hack their brain, like realize that it's not as hard as it has to be if they understand the way habit change works. It's just we're not talking about it. So that's my passion now. Most of my work now is keynote speaking with some coaching. Yeah.
So awesome. I love that you took your own personal experience and turned it into, furthering your education. And I really do think that there is nothing better than feeling like the purpose in your professional purpose, is a representation of your passion. And clearly that is the case for you. And I can speak to the same. I think it's why I love what I do so much in this space, because I have reaped the benefits myself and I've felt the consequences when my own, priorities have become malaligned and I've not, prioritized my own health and wellness. So being able to, spread that and help other people feel the good parts and the benefits is so rewarding. So congratulations on taking the plunge. Government jobs are very stable and very secure and very safe and hard to leave. They take a lot of courage to leave. So congrats to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I am curious though, because, obviously we all have things that work and don't work. I've read a lot in the habit space, but I don't think I can really say I truly understand the neuroscience behind habit formation, what is actually occurring in our brain. So if you could take us right back to the basics that way, I know I would be really interested to learn. I'm sure Jake can feel
Same.
the same way, and our
Yeah.
listeners 100% would I'm sure love to hear this too.
Yeah, sure. So I actually say this in my keynote, the beginning of one of my most popular keynotes. It's like, it's not you, it's your brain. And I feel like your audience is like, could speak differently to your audience because you're already that much more scientific, I would say, than the average audience. But we all know that the brain has one job and one job only, and it's to keep us alive, to survival. And so, but what we don't realize is the brain actually creates habits. Habit formation is just an efficiency hack for the brain. So it's meant to keep us super efficient so that we have energy to run away from the tiger. And most people don't realize that we are still operating with the same brain that we had in the cave. So here we are in a society that we could like have Uber Eats at our fingers, right? Most of us, our jobs are sedentary, and we're still operating with the same kind of, I like to call it like hardware, for lack of a better word, that is still trying to keep us like get ready for the tiger, like get ready for that moment. So that's the reason why habits form is I like to give the analogy, like imagine you buy your computer or even your iPhone, let's just say. It takes a lot of like juice to constantly be thinking about all the programs that are running in the back. So once the code is written, it kind of runs in the back so that it has the space for you to kind of do something else, right? So once the habits are formed in your brain, those neural pathways, you've heard it before, the neurons that fire together wire together. It just creates a neural pathway that then it could just kind of say, oh, perfect, thanks. I'm going to slide that over here. I'm just going to run that in the background so that I can conserve all the energy I can just in case. Like, so, to live, to survive. And what people don't really realize is not just physical habits, it's also mental habits. I do a lot of coaching there too, right? So it's how do we respond to stress? How do we react? No matter what, it's that loop. It's that neural pathway. And so if we think about when people try to change habits, well, your brain not only wants to stay super cozy, comfy, safe, right? It doesn't want to get off the couch. It like ever, like that's never going to change. Like it's always going to want to choose to conserve energy. And I always say, too bad, so sad, we can't change that. Like it's never going to want the broccoli over the, ice cream. Actually, we're designed to crave high fat, high calorie foods because we didn't know when the next meal was coming. So we kind of have to just accept the fact that it's always going to be a little bit more difficult to choose the habit or choose the activity that's going to make us uncomfortable. But if we can start if we can start creating a habit, a routine that works with our brain and not against it, the brain does love homeostasis. It does love to stay in motion and stay in the same routine. So that's kind of the place where I work in is, okay, if you are currently sedentary or really busy, or let's say you're a physician and you were a super great athlete and now you've got 2 kids and you work shift work and you're just, what you want to do, but you just haven't been able to figure out the right routine and the habit structure. The good news is you can create the new neural pathways and the new habit formation that's going to work in your life. We just have to go about it a little bit differently. I'm sure we'll talk about it. I can go on and on. I'll stop there, but really it's how do we get those new neurons firing together, wiring together, almost like the opposite of addiction, right? When we talk about, breaking that. So how do we actually build the new neural pathways so that the brain doesn't have to be so hard that you've been able to create a lifestyle, a routine that, yes, it's still going to be harder to get up and go for the run, but because you've been able to build to that point, the brain's not fighting you as much because it's become more of a routine. You have the neural pathways. It has the reward. We can talk about dopamine and all the things, but it actually understands like, oh, this is actually going to be rewarding and I'm going to let my body do this because I see a direct reward. So that's where I like to kind of play in that space is how do we start building those new neural pathways when we're super busy, overwhelmed, tired, and can't seem to fit it all in.
Which is amazing. The concept of the neuroplasticity of the brain comes into play. And correct me if I'm wrong, because this is an analogy I use in my coaching sessions all the time, but about turning a behavior more into a habit. That it's like, walking through a wooded forest where the first time you walk through, it's really hard because there's no path to see. You're forging your own way, to come out to the other end. The next time it's still hard, but you can sort of see a few, twigs that you've broken the path. By the 10th time, the path is trampled quite down. By the 20th time, there's a clear path. And if we walk away from that behavior, so let's say exercise, we take, weeks off, whatever, life gets in our way, it's still there. The path it might be a little overgrown, but we can find it again. Is this
100%.
like, yes?
Okay. I'm going to totally steal that, by the way, because I use
okay.
the analogy of the bike path. I actually have pictures on my keynote where, yes, first of all, yes, I love that. I think that's a beautiful analogy, especially with the regrowth, because people can think about the regrowth, and I'm totally going to steal that now, and I'll credit you. I say in the brain, I would just add that there's the forest path, or there's the clear, what I say is like the clear I say like you're on a bike, okay? Because I'm a mountain biker. So you've got the downhill paved path into the sunset that you don't have to work for, which is being sedentary, which is the easy thing. Grab the Uber Eats, like it's the easy behavior, or the one that also you were used to. And I always say the first time you wrench that bike off the path to go up the mountain biking trail, to your point, it's uphill, it's harder, you don't have the muscle yet, you don't have the equipment. There's no, they're like, oh my God, how long is this going to take? And exactly, the longer, the more you do it, it's never going to be easier. Never, ever, ever. I think that's what people need to realize. It's never going to be easier than that smooth path. But all of a sudden, you made friends. You got a cool new bike outfit. You built some muscle. You saw some cool scenery. Your brain is like, shit, there's a reward here. Like this is kind of cool. So that's what I like, exactly that. And you're right. We can talk about how do you maintain, but I always say to clients, like James Clear says this a lot too, it's just keeping the path going. So even if you have to lower the scope and stick to the schedule, it's just how can you keep that path going? How do we manage our expectations? Maybe we like tone it down. We have a plan B, C. I always have my clients plan A, B, C. But as long as you're continuing on that path here and there, the regrowth won't happen as much. So that's it. It's
Which is 100% what I would say. Even maybe
yes,
today you can't take the full trail out the other
yes,
side, but can you take a
yes.
third of it? Trample
Yep.
that down. So the next time, the trail is there, you can see it, you can get started. And maybe it's not, you don't have to do. And we'll get into the all or nothing because that's
Yeah.
obviously a huge, huge limiting factor, particularly in women physicians and the way our brains work. But before I move on from the neuroscience point of view, and particularly you alluded to dopamine and things, I did want to just ask, and maybe this is something you have experience with or not, but the reality is, particularly among women physicians, we have a really high rate of ADHD in our profession. And as a result, the ADHD brain, the way it works, we have these significant motivation gaps, right, that require more work. So the getting started, the initiative to even try something can be harder to pass. We often need things, what I describe as, or think of in my head as planks to help us cross that motivation gap.
Yep.
Do you notice this a lot in the ADHD space or the neurodivergent brains? Yeah.
Yes, and I'll start by saying my oldest son is high, high, high on the spectrum ADHD. My husband's ADHD, and for some reason, I attract 80% of my female clients are ADHD. And my business coach thinks I am too. So yes, I mean, I think what I would say to that, I mean, I don't know if you follow this woman called M on the Brain. She's a neuroscientist. You'd love her. Everybody should go check her out. She has this line that says, doubt is a dopamine destroyer. And I love her work. It's very similar to what I'm teaching with my clients, but she has a PhD in neuroscience. And so what I do when I'm working with a lot of ADHD clients is you pull in a lot of the like, what's the tiniest next step, right? Like how do we not wait for motivation? Because actually motivation doesn't show up until you start doing the thing. But but like you said, a lot of us, especially I coach all high achieving women. Many of our ADHD, but they're all high achievers, right? And we just think like we put so much pressure on ourselves and we're like, well, when I was 25 before kids and blah, 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 and I was working out with like CrossFit and this and that, and we just can't, it doesn't feel right to like lower the scope to take just like what's the minimum viable action. I always say to my clients, like, what's your MVA? What's your next right step? What's the smallest amount you can do? Because then if you can do that and show the brain that you can, it's almost like look at we can trust yourself, we can get a little hit from this, then the brain will start releasing more dopamine, like, and that's why doubt is a dopamine destroyer, because as soon as we think, look, well, I can't do that, that's too much, I'm never going to have time, the brain's like, well, I'm not doing that. I don't see a direct reward. Like, why am I going to give you dopamine? So I kind of get around that by really taking bites, starting small and taking really bite-sized chunks out of our goals and habits, and then having a plan A, B, C for the inevitable bad weeks, so that we really have to avoid the shame and blame around the wellness, because that's actually, like she says, doubt is a dopamine destroyer. I say, like, there's no place for shame in the health game, because it's actually working against the way our brain works. So we really just have to kind of like give ourselves a bit of a break and start small.
I love that because we have too much of it in society at whole, I find,
Yeah.
particularly in the social media space, where it's like what we're doing wrong, or, we're not maximizing, optimizing. And this whole world of optimizing our wellness puts a lot of onus and blame, I find, on the individual, which is not at all helpful. But I think it's particularly, and Jake, I'd be curious to know your opinion on this too, but particularly relevant to our client base and because women physicians, I mean, there's a reason we got to where we are, and it's because most of us were hard on ourselves and had very high expectations of ourselves. And that served us well, to get us where we needed to be in our profession, but it also holds us back and works, can cause a lot of harm as well. So I love that style because I think, again, no room for shame, 100%. It's what is holding most of us back. And I know, Jake, you hear that from our clients all the time.
100%. And we were just chatting with our coaches, and when they do sort of their week 1, week 2 check-in with new members who have, made this leap to join the program. And, anyone who starts a new program, especially with the physicians that we work with, they want to come in and do it perfectly. And they've been trained to do everything perfectly within their profession. Right. And the conversation we had was like, the first thing you do in that week 1 check-in is, talk about some of the wins, but try to get them, not because inevitably they're starting something new and they want to do it perfectly, and they might for a week or 2, but something's going to come up. They're going to miss a workout, or they didn't do this with nutrition, whatever it is. And we really want the coaching to reinforce, you're doing great. You're doing an awesome job. Let's focus on the good things. Get rid of any of that shame. And, like you talked about with the analogy of walking through the forest, like it's going to take time to build up and, to get to that place that you want to get to, but really understanding that. And I think for so many, especially in the beginning phases of, a lot of the physicians who come to us have spent a year, 2 years, 5 years, some it's been 10, 15 years since they've done any sort of consistent routine with fitness and nutrition, and just letting them know, like, this doesn't have to be perfect. Get rid of that sort of, let's not focus on the shame and what we didn't do. Let's focus on the good things that we did and build momentum from there.
Yeah, because I think we all know, right? Because we probably went through it ourselves. I did a 5-minute speaker slam speech that's on my Instagram, and the whole story is like I did it all, right? I got to the place where I had the 2 degrees and the perfect job and the perfect kids and the house and the husband and the mama and the perfect body after kids. Like I was wearing a bikini, and it was like, and I had a full mental breakdown. And it's like I share that story. I hesitated for a while because I was like, must be nice. Like, who are you to complain? And it's like, no, no, no. Do you know how many clients I have coming into me and they're like, well, I want to lose weight. I'm like, you don't want to lose weight. You want the feeling that you think you're going to get when you lose the weight. And I'm not saying weight loss is not a great longer term goal, but like I'm going to write a book, so actually like copyright this, and it's going to be called, If You Want to Lose Weight, Stop Trying to Lose Weight. Mm-hmm. Because when we come at our goals from a place of shame, blame, it doesn't work with the brain chemistry. And so it's okay, because I know it feels better to feel fit, right? Like I'm not shaming the people that want to lose weight. Of course, I know I feel better when I'm fit. But when that becomes, if that is the only goal, every day, well, we all know here, your brain needs quick wins to keep showing up. Your brain doesn't release dopamine unless it is anticipating a reward, right? Like we anticipate, like when we're doom scrolling, like the brain needs to anticipate a reward. So if you're showing up at the gym or coming to get a workout program for the sole purpose of like what I call like more of a shame-based longer term outcome goal, you might be able to stick to it for a few weeks. But until we start looking at like, how is this making me feel today? Oh, I feel more energetic. My anxiety felt like I felt a little bit less anxious. So what I get to my clients to do is cool. I'm not telling you not to have a longer term goal of losing weight. I want to get right to the feeling that you're going for. And usually it's like, I want to feel more energetic. I want to feel more confident. I want to feel more peaceful or calm or present. And then we reverse engineer. Okay, what is a couple things we can do, mindset, psychological things, and physical habits that can start giving you that feeling right away? And so then the 10-minute walk becomes valuable because the 10-minute walk gives you more energy, makes you proud of yourself, and reduces your anxiety. Whereas if your goal was to lose 50 pounds, the 10-minute walk doesn't feel like it's enough. So why should I bother?
It's so true. So true in the space that we have, in the space that we coach, for sure. I also find too, is that again, and I'm sure this is common in the clients you see, all high achieving women. I can only speak to women physicians as being one myself, and the women that we coach. We seem to think we can have like 10 priorities. Like when the very definition of a priority is like, it's at the top of the list, but it's not the 10 things on the list. It's at the top of the list. And I find that that's where we struggle a lot, is like recognizing sometimes our priorities have to shift. And so right now, life is good. My exercise and my nutrition can be a priority. I always say there's generally 3 at the most you can sort of prioritize at any one time. but family member gets sick, something, a colleague gets sick, you have to do more call. Like there are things in life that will be out of our control that will shift that down, those priorities. So it's no longer your top three. It may become five, six, seven, but you just have to find, ways and trust in yourself. And this is what we're going to talk about, that when the time is right, it will come back up to the top again and you will get back to it in the capacity that you wish. And in the meantime, just doing what you can to keep that path clear, until you can make it a priority again. So I'm curious, and I don't know if we are unscripted here to our listeners, because this is the way we like to just have a conversation. I was sort of thinking, would it be worthwhile to kind of take an example through? And, let's use the example of like, I know I need to move my body. Let's use resistance training in particular, because we know it's incredibly important. It's a integral part of our coaching program. But the reason I want to bring it up is because a lot of women are feeling guilty for not doing it right now, because the messaging is very strong that we should be doing it. And I will be the first one to say it's very important for our health, particularly in midlife. I'm about to turn 50. Strength training is critical. But at the same time, I think women are getting the message so much that they're now going to bed, oh, another day I didn't pick up the weights, another day. And like their muscles and bones are wasting among them. So let's take that, because I know it's a behavior that a lot of women in our age want to do more of. So I am a woman physician, a variety of specialties, and I want more weight training in my life. So I've decided to commit to this in whatever way. Where would you say the best place to start is with forming a habit? Because obviously this is new, and where would you start with someone like this when it comes to their mindset and what they need to do to just get started? Does this work? Am I throwing this?
Yeah, I'm happy to riff on this for sure. And I have clients that have come to me for this. And to be clear, like I love that I refer my clients to people like you to have the programs, right? Like I don't give my clients the program and what to eat. I work on the psychological blocks behind why they're yo-yoing all the time or can't stick to it. Like it's the deeper psychological work. Like I'm teaching them the habit change science. And so what I would do right away, first of all, is this person sedentary? This is important to know. Like, do they do anything or not?
Let's say I've been really good in my younger years at the cardio, not so much in the resistance training, but all in all, between kids and my career, I've pretty much put exercise to the bottom of my list of priorities.
Okay. So number one with any client that I would say is first we have to value tag this, because we know the habits that last are the ones that become part of our identity, right? So we don't build outcome-based goals, we build identity-based habits. And so I work with people on like, what is it you really want? Because if they don't really want it, and if they think they should do it, but they don't actually want to. I love James Clear just put it up yesterday. It's like if you're not willing to live the lifestyle it takes to make the goals, you probably saw it, you probably follow him. Like, what are we doing here? So first we have to really get clear. Like, what do you want? And that's the coaching I find is helpful. Like, what is it that you're trying to feel? How do we value tag this from a day-to-day lifestyle perspective? Because some people will come in thinking that they need to be like weight training, I don't know, 3 times a week, 45 minutes a day. We're getting I'm in perimenopause. I get the friggin' messages, right? Like I get why these women are overwhelmed, but it's not, it's very much all or none messaging, as you probably hear. So it's overwhelming us, we're short circuiting. So number one, how do you want to feel? Actually, what do you really want this? How is it that you want to feel? Also the longer term fear-based stuff. Like I worked forever in the government on public education campaigns around addiction. Fear doesn't work. Like telling people that you're going to get osteoporosis or osteoarthritis or frozen shoulder or all this other stuff doesn't work to change behavior. We know that from the science. So we have to value tag it. So let's just say, you know what? No, I actually really want to feel strong, Katie, or like, like I want to feel great. Like I really do want this. This is attached to my values, but I just don't even know where to start. I'm overwhelmed, I'm busy, I'm tired. Then I would actually not start right down the rabbit hole of that. We have to start building the habit and the pathway. So we'd start really small. So if they're doing no exercise, how do you make it fun, make it easy, make it rewarding, like all those kind of simple steps? So maybe, and I've done this with my clients, we have to park that for like 4 weeks. And we just have to start getting into the habit of something. If you're doing nothing, what do you like? What's fun? I like going for a walk with my neighbor. Cool. Can we just start getting in the habit of, can we set a goal, but that feels a little bit more doable? It's not as stressful because maybe it's something you're more confident doing. And can we just start building the neural pathway, the habit of movement? This is what has worked for my clients. So it could, and it might even just be for 2 weeks. It's actually pretty shocking when someone it's just they're getting unstuck. It's just a mindset piece. So maybe they have to start with something really, really simple, or maybe they really enjoy yoga. They want to work their way up to, I don't know, like actual resistance training in the gym, but they enjoy going to yoga with a friend. Okay, like so I would get them to just start working on the routine first, then start building. And I've seen this work for clients. I had a woman like super busy, right? Like totally sedentary. We just worked on simply putting the computer, closing the computer for 20 minutes at lunch and starting walking. Within 2 months, she was doing 3 at-home 30-minute resistance training programs within maybe 2 months, because she had started in a place that didn't feel so overwhelming. So I think I always say to people, we have to find the tipping point where our brain won't fight us too much. And if that means it's starting with something we feel more comfortable or have fun doing, not because we're getting like major muscle gains, it's actually just to train our brain, then moving in. Or maybe we just have to start really simple. It's 10 minutes of resistance training twice a week. Like, what's the tipping point? Because if you're not sticking to it, it's not the right goal. And then you add from there, like if that makes sense.
Totally. And Jake, it makes me think when you do, and when our team does the initial calls with the women, they, generally I find the clients who sign right away are ready to, like,
Do it.
they've got to the space where they're ready for some workouts, they're ready to get started. And to be honest, I find they get into the habit quite quickly, meaning
Mm-hmm.
because they're really motivated and ready. And so by the time they work one-on-one with our trainers, the trainers get to know what's going to work for them. Again, what length of
Mm-hmm.
workouts, what reduces the friction the most. I mean, is it home workouts? Is it workouts in the hospital? Whatever it is, they actually take to the workouts quite well, Jake. But I am wondering, for those that aren't ready, if that's something, obviously we can offer some support or advice, like maybe if it's not this program right now, but, try this for the next, like, is there something just to get the needle moving? But what I was going to say is, once they do tend to, and Jake, would you agree with me on this? They tend to go strong. Like they like getting the workouts, they like getting the trainers, and they really have strong starts. And it's amazing to see how quickly regular exercise, particularly resistance training, becomes a part of their routine. But then something happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's that like extra call shift. It's a sick child, it's a sick parent, it's an injury, something happens out of their control. Would you agree, Jake, that that's probably where we see our clients struggling the most when it comes to keeping a habit going?
Yeah, what I would say, you mentioned one thing, Katie, in talking about forming the habit, and you talked about ease.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious to just dive into that a little bit more, because I think one of the things that works so well within our program, and two of the things that we do from the get-go in the initial assessment, is we always ask clients, okay, how many times a week are you looking to work out? Like, what do you think works for your schedule? And then they say 4, and how long do you want those workouts to be? And sometimes we 4 times a week, an hour. And it's like, okay, well, we know that you haven't been exercising, in the past 6 months or whatever it is. So we always move it down to, okay, well, if you want 4, let's aim for 3. And if you're looking for 45-minute workouts, let's aim for 20 or 30. And I think that's one of the things that works so well in keeping consistent. And then the second thing is, you know, our philosophy around training, and I think nutrition is similar to this, is just simple and effective. What are the simple and effective things to do? And definitely there are times where, life happens and an event happens and someone will fall off. But being able to come back to something that's simple and effective, and along with that, knowing that there's someone there to check in and support with you, and you support, because I think, again, it's what we talk about a lot with our program for so many. And you mentioned it in the beginning, like, I know what I need to be doing. Why am I not doing it? Right. And for so many, it's because they're trying on their own. They have all of those different priorities. They're maybe doing something that's a little too complex, or they have expectations that are too high. And that's where it really can fall off. And so it's something that we really try and focus on with members, is just making sure, A, your goals are realistic, B, the plan is simple to follow, and C, that you have the accountability and support to continue to follow through
And I
when
always say to
life
my clients, yeah,
inevitably,
when life comes,
inevitably.
any of my clients know that it used to be a plan A and B, and now I have a plan A, B, and C. Also, because I coach all women over 40, most of them are over 40, and I mean, like we gotta do another podcast about the hormones throwing wrenches and things, right? And certain times of the month that you just have like zero motivation to do anything and you just like all of your life choices are horrible and I get the voice notes, right? And so I love that, Jake, but I also what I do with my clients is I just make them think about, okay, that's the plan A. This is my plan A. This is the
Yeah,
vision.
I like that.
What's my plan B? So what, and it sounds like you're doing this. Like if I don't have the 45 minutes, is there a version of this workout I could do in 15? Because we all know I had a client who changed her
Yeah.
life with 15 minutes 4 times a week. She changed her life because that's all she had, but she was able to just go do like this specific couple weights for 15 minutes or that like it's wild what you can do. So what's the plan A? What's the plan B? And now I even have to say to my clients, what's the plan C? Just to keep your brain, like lower the scope and stick to the schedule because it's the doubt and shame that's going to like get you off the train. So if it's the messaging for I always say is it's okay. Like we have to actually expect we're going to go on vacation. We're going to want some
Mhm.
margaritas. We're going to like our kids going to get sick. That's the way I live my life. If you're creating identity-based habits, you are becoming someone who prioritizes their health to the best of their ability that day. And so what's your plan C? I share it all the time on Instagram. Sometimes my plan C is like a 5-minute walk in the woods. Like I don't got no energy to do my 45-minute weight training or whatever I'm doing in the basement. And so giving them permission up front to say, this is life in real life. What's your plan C? Just to keep the brain wiring going. Like if we're gonna even use Suzanne's analogy, like just to keep the path from growing over, but not like running the trail run, basically. I find that really, really helpful. And just getting them to understand like this is a marathon, not a sprint, and this is who we are becoming. Like the people that can stick to it are the people that have been able to find a way to make it rewarding, enjoyable. It's no longer white knuckling. At the beginning, it's going to be. But those people then give themselves a damn break, right? Like I know I do. I go to Mexico and maybe I walk the
Mhm.
beach, but I'm not at the gym every day. And that's okay. Like it's a lot of this is mindset. A lot of this is mindset and blame and shame. And so we can move that away when we preemptively plan for bad weeks with some what I call MVAs, minimum viable actions, but plan A, B, C.
I love that. I love the plan ABC because we
Yeah, me
we
too.
hear it all the time, and that's the thing. And particularly, I find when people are in a program, right, where they
Yeah.
have coaching, they really want to stick to plan A, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like this is not the time for life to throw me any, I'm losing my expression, but I don't want to be thrown any unexpected surprises. I just want everything to go around smoothly so I can get the most of this coaching program. And it's funny because they come to me and they're like, I'm so frustrated because, A, B, C, or D happened and I'm not able to give this my all. And I'm like, I love that that happened because that's real life and real life is always going to happen. So it gives us a chance to work together while you have the support to figure this out. So the plan ABC. So when you said sort of those actions, what would be examples? I mean, you did the walk in the forest example, but let's say someone, okay, I'm going to do a real life example. This week, I'm on call 24/7. I've had some sick patients in hospital, so I'm getting lots of night calls. I'm not getting a lot of sleep. Getting up for my 6 a.m. workouts is no longer an option because I am not sleeping well through the night. And how would you help these women find other alternatives that, again, that keeps the brain moving in the right direction without closing off those pathways altogether?
It can be and I, as a coach, and you guys do this too, I always ask them, right? Because if it comes from them, like it's going to be better. I will just give you examples of what's worked for my clients in the past. It can be as simple as I am taking the stairs all day long today. I'm never taking an elevator today. And I'm going to think in my head, like you've probably heard of the study in New York where, have you heard of the study about where they took like the hotel workers, like housekeepers, I don't know if that's like the right term, and they actually split them in two. And half of them, they asked them about their exercise and their, like their behaviors. And then they told them like the Surgeon General's recommendations for exercise. And half of them, they didn't say anything like, oh, we don't have time because we work. And the other half, they told them, did you know that pushing the cart and changing the bed is like this and this is like a lunge? And that the people who they just told that, did you know that actually you're working out all day long? BMI change, blood pressure change, like all
Wow.
makers, yeah, because it was all mindset. So I work a lot in mindset. I give that example because it's all about our mindset. Like, can we go in with the mindset that I am the person who prioritizes my health? This week is shitty. I cannot do it this week. But you know what I can do? I am someone who prioritizes my health to the best of my ability, so I'm going to take the stairs in the hospital. I'm not taking one elevator today. It's just the pride of showing up. I know that next week it's going to be better. I'm not beating myself up. Doubt is a dopamine destroyer. Shame is a dopamine destroyer. Let's like move on from this. And for some people, it's as simple as I'm not going to get up at 6 a.m. for my 45-minute workout, but I'm going to do 5 minutes of stretching or like 10, I don't know, like lunges. It's not about the physicality. It's about just staying in the motion. It's about the mindset. Like, this is the best I can do today. Pat on the back, move forward. I think I always take a lot from James Clear because obviously I do like similar work with him and I love him, the author of Atomic Habits. I'm pretty sure he says this, but he says just fall in love with restarting. Just fall in love with restarting. Don't get so focused. Like, what's the 1% today? Like, what's just the 1% I can move towards? So that mindset's so important because it is those people that only have the, our disappointment lives in the gap between expectations and reality. So those people with these high expectations, as soon as they don't hit them, those are the ones that are going to fall off. So if they can just anticipate the bad weeks and still be like, this is my MVA. I'm really proud that I did this. Like, I actually pump the tires of my clients. I have in my app like some metrics and they report on it. We celebrate so hard the worst days when like they didn't hit the 30-minute walk, but they did the 5-minute walk. Like, that's when we like, yeah, baby, like that's when we celebrate because that's like the hardest part. If you can get through those weeks and you just did something to keep showing up and the best you could and you felt proud of it, you're maintaining the habit.
I love that. And I love the identity base. I'm also a huge James Clear fan. And I love the identity base, particularly when you put it in the context, like I identify as somebody who cares about my health. That also means and I say this all the time, like the right choice today is to actually sleep if you did not sleep. Like, that is actually serving that identity and removing the shame of not working out because that's actually feeding towards, how you identify as a person. So I absolutely love that. My question is though, with the identity bit, is it hard? Like, do people come really feeling that way? Like, how long do you fake it till you make it? Does that sound so terrible? But do you know what I mean? Like, if people are coming to us because they feel run down and they feel like they haven't been prioritizing their health and they feel like everybody else's health is a priority, but not their own, to capture that identity that I am somebody who prioritizes my health, do you just say that over and over again until finally you believe it and you start making the actions? Like that's to me, that area of grayness in between. That's the hardest part to overcome.
I actually do what I call brain training. And so this is where like the fun neuroscience comes in of our subconscious mind our subconscious mind is where our habits live, right? Because habits are actually subconscious. So, but our subconscious mind is just really operating based on, I don't know, we can call it our paradigm. Like, what are our beliefs? Like, this is where you get deeper in the coaching, but like, what do we believe about ourselves? What do we believe about others? It's almost like running in the background. But what people don't realize is you can actually proactively train your subconscious. I mean, it gets a little bit deep, but I call it brain training. Yeah, I will say, like, out in the zeitgeist, there's a lot of people taking this kind of stuff and say, oh, manifestation. It's turning into this whole woo-woo. Actually, the core of what people teach in manifestation is neuroscience. It's not woo-woo. It's just being kind of packaged in a way that really discounts it. A lot of the core of what people say about like, affirmations, writing out affirmations or feeling it, you're training your subconscious mind. We have a reticular activating system. It's filtering out 99% of our environment, right? It's actually going to, through confirmation bias, prove us right of what we believe. I am not enough, or I'm too busy, or I don't have time for this, or I'm not healthy, or whatever we're telling ourselves. We know from the science that if you tell your brain that, I always say to my clients, be careful what you say, your brain is listening. It will go out and prove you right. Like when I wanted to buy a white Jeep Wrangler and all of a sudden everybody's, I'm sure you guys have felt that before, right? Like you want that mountain bike or that car and all of a sudden everybody has it. Well, no, they don't. You've just told your brain to focus on it. So I actually have my clients do 5 minutes of brain training a day, and it is deciding like how they want to feel and who they want to be, and just starting to tell their brain it. And at the beginning, like especially some of my executive clients are kind of like, I don't like this, like journaling, right? I am telling you, it changes the game. Now they're bought in. By the end, they're like, I'm training my brain. We name it and we train it. And so things like, I am someone who prioritizes my health to the best of my ability. I feel energetic. I have free time to work out. Like literally, we have to just tell our brain what we want it to believe. It is wild what can happen because your brain will start trying to prove you right. And you'll actually, I have so many examples of this, but it'll start to notice maybe a little bit more time that you didn't have, or maybe, it'll start to just feel a bit different. And so there is some mindset work. I know we don't have time to go really into it, but there's definitely some proactive mindset work where we can start training our brain, kind of faking it till we make it, like you said. But we dip a toe in at first, especially with people that find this a little bit different and very scientific. Like I have 2 science degrees, I get it. But there is a really cool way that we can start convincing our brain that we do have time, that we do prioritize ourselves, that we do feel energetic, that it is okay to rest. Like anything that we're trying to prime the brain, all of a sudden it starts to believe it, and then it'll start kind of lowering the resistance around certain things. And so I have actually again added that into my program, and it's a game changer. Definitely met with resistance because of the woo-woo ness of a lot of like people resist the anything like that journaling, but once I can get people to do it, it changes their life.
So,
And
personal
so,
story, I'm the least woo-woo person on the planet,
Yeah.
but the journaling has changed the game for me. And I have
yeah,
not
I
used it
love
for this
journaling.
way. Like, and Jake, how many times have we had experts on here? And it doesn't matter what they're talking, like, it doesn't matter what field they're talking about. It always comes back to the journaling, the pen
Yeah.
and paper. So
Yep.
that's how you do it. Literally
Paper
spend five
every
minutes,
morning,
pen and paper.
five
Okay.
minutes. Yeah, but we
Okay.
decide, like I even have it in my workbook. It's like right in front of me. It's like what's the lifestyle I want to lead, right? So it's not just they'll come in with a goal, right? You guys, all the people they're coming in. Some of them want to lose weight. Some of them are a little bit more like, no, I just want to feel healthy. I want more energy. Great. That's number one. Let's just be really clear on what we want, and then we dig down. Like, is that what you really want? No, what I really want is to feel more calm, connected, peaceful, confident, whatever. Okay, great. Now that's our new goal. Now we decide what's the lifestyle I want to lead, because we're just being inundated by society that no, 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 but to be successful you have to be like super fit. Well, do I want to lead a lifestyle that it will the lifestyle that it would take to be super fit? You don't have to be super fit and be healthy and be energetic. You can move your body in different ways. You can be very healthy. So we have to kind of get really clear on what is it that I want, what works for me, and how do I want to feel. And then I always call it like who's the Jake 2.0? Like what does he feel? How does he live? And so I get people to write that out. Like I I really enjoy moving my body. Like they get them to change their mind about exercising. I love moving my body. I have lots of time to do it. I do it to the best of my ability, blah, blah, blah. I am confident. I am calm. Like all these things that people think is just bull. But if they write it out for 2 minutes a day in the morning and just like believe it, it's wild. Like when I say journaling, it's not just like I wish I want. It's like I am, and the brain starts listening.
Yeah.
The brain can't like we know this through the sports psychology research too with visualization. If you can add visualization on top of that, woo, like watch your life change. That's what I do every morning because the brain does not know the difference between something vividly imagined and something real. And so we have to proactively change our brain to change our life. In my opinion, that's what's changed my life.
Yeah,
It's deep. We're
I
getting deep, and I like it.
yeah, yeah, no, it's great. It's very cool. And so with the brain training, do you have like a specific guideline for that? Is it like what's my I am statement, or like yeah, how do you coach your clients into, what they need to do for that 5 or 10 minutes a day?
So what I do, at least especially for my one-on-one, but even my group program, we really get clear on how we want to feel and the lifestyle we want to lead, what feels good to us. That usually wakes people up to be like, oh, maybe I don't want to be a CrossFitter. I thought I should be, but I actually just want to feel good and energetic and active and garden and do whatever, right? So we get clear on that. And then we just decide like who is that version of Suzanne, of Katie, of Jake? Like, how does she feel? Like, okay, so I'm energetic. I feel really energetic. I have free time with my family. Like, it does get down to like what's actually important, right? So when we get to that point, it's not really prescriptive. I do have little challenges like in the morning for people who need like, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. This is how I'm going to make myself feel proud. This is who I am. But it's as easy as it could be like 10 bullets. I feel energetic. I love moving my body. And it's different for everyone in their goals. And it's just some of my clients record it and listen to it in the car. Some of them like to write it. I personally like to write it, but then close my eyes and visualize during one song, like visualize that feeling, like who am I? How am I moving about the world? How do I feel? And so I don't like to be too prescriptive. I just kind of have a rule that if you're in my program, you're naming your brain and we're committing to like a minimum of 2 minutes of brain training. And they usually find what works for them. But try to encourage, like, in the morning, set the tone. This is how my day's going to go. This is who I am. This is how I feel. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
Because
very
the
cool.
problem is too, we get started in our day and we're like, okay, what we tend to do, and when I say we, I speak to many of, because I relate to many of our listeners, but I find what we tend to do is we have more to-dos. Like today I'm going to wake up and I'm going to get this done, this done, this done, this done. And we spend more time on our to-dos, which makes us feel productive. But then when our to-dos go all, I'm going to hit the gym on the way home from the hospital, but no, I'm not because this case went longer and now I don't have time and my kids have to get picked up and things like that. Then all of a sudden you feel like you've failed to cross something off the to-do list. Also, our clientele, myself included, love lists. Like again, whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, and I'd be curious to know. But love lists to check off. But maybe if we reframe it to not spend the time thinking in the morning, this is what is on my to-do list. This is what I'm going to accomplish. More, this is who I am, and
Yeah.
again, that brain
Yes.
training time is probably a way better, like time way better spent and a better
Oh, yeah.
approach to actually, and will probably make us much more productive in getting that, old
Yeah.
to-do list off. That's amazing.
Yeah, because and really we seem to be coaching the same clients, and I get it, right? Like my dad's a physician. I have a lot of friends. Like I mean, I know that world too, and it's not even like you don't have the flexibility, and there's certain things that go beyond your control, and so, but it's the personality, I think, like, and I'm that personality too, so I get it. It gets deeper. This is where the psychological work comes in, right? It's those of us that have probably made it this far. We do have an attachment, like success equals I am enough, right? Like I did the thing, I got the degree, I got the good job, and it's an addiction. I actually think like ticking off the to-do list, I say to my clients and myself included, it's like breaking an addiction. You get a dopamine hit. Your brain would actually rather, instead of doing the hard thing that it doesn't want to do at the beginning of behavior change, let's say you've decided you're going to do a 20-minute weight training session in your basement. Your brain at the beginning is going to literally throw every excuse at you. It doesn't want to do this. You haven't built the pathway, right? You're going in with the machete and it doesn't want to do this. What does the brain want? It wants quick wins and reward. Well, what does your to-do list give you? Quick wins and reward. I work with so many women that they're like, "Oh my God, that's me." Like I will rather go book the dentist appointment, write my to-do list the 13th time, check my email the 17th time. Why? Because it's giving your brain the dopamine hit. It's giving your brain the dopamine hit. So we actually have to start looking at that as a bit of an addiction. Like I'm not
Okay.
saying throw the to-do list out. I'm saying watch how your brain is going towards that as a very, very tricky excuse not to do something else that you know is going to benefit you. It goes for that quicker dopamine hit. It's like doom scrolling, but those of us that are high achievers, we get the buzz from check, right? I did that. Check. I
It's a hundred
did that.
percent.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So we got to like move away from that, almost like breaking an addiction. And it's not to say move away from accomplishing things, it's the obsessiveness of the to-do list has got to change.
Exactly. So that when it doesn't happen, we have
Yes.
immense failure.
Yes.
Because that's, I find, the fine line, right, with the to-do list. And I love that we're talking about this because we talk about the to-do list all the time in our coaching sessions, group coaching sessions. We all get a high off of it,
Yep.
which anyone who's listening to this is not anyone because I think most of our listeners relate to Jake, our conversations and who we are. But if you don't, you might think we're crazy. But yes, the high that you get, like I got it done, check. But it can also be, yes, exactly. But it can also be like when is that the dopamine hit that you need to get going, to get it done, but also then when it turns toxic? Is it only our response when it doesn't get done? Like if we can not do it, if we can have a to-do list with things unchecked and move on about our life and be like, okay, I did the best I can today and move on, then that the checklist is maybe serving we're getting the benefits from it without the negatives. But if it's like causing us to again stay up till 1 a.m. because I can't go to bed without that final check mark done, that final email sent, or whatever it is on my to-do list, then that's when it's becoming more disordered.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you know how you make it so easy? This is why I get my clients to choose a word. Like it's so simple. Like our goal is not how much weight are we going to lose by how many days, how many times do I work out a week. Are literally at the beginning of my program, it's I want to feel more energetic. And usually they'll choose up to 3 things. That becomes the lens through which we put everything. So, for example, if the to-do list is that feeding my energy, like is this behavior of constantly checking off things on my to-do list, it's giving me a dopamine hit. But if doing that instead of the walk where's my energy at? Like, does this make me feel more energetic or less energetic? It becomes a really, really simple tool I find with, and we constantly have to be reminding ourselves of this. Like, is this feeding my energy or sucking my energy? So the perfect example of this is my ultimate goal of getting my fitness in order, right? Like like prioritizing myself. It's because I want to feel good, right? I want my words vibrant. I want to feel vibrant. I want to feel strong, healthy, confident, vibrant. Okay. So if I approach my health goals with this to-do list mentality, all or nothing, or even plan A, B, but still really putting a lot of pressure on myself, and I don't do it, is that making me feel more energetic, more vibrant, more confident? No, it's not. So there's the problem. So like it's a really easy litmus test. Wait a second. Today I'm super busy, massive caseload, whatever, had to stay wherever longer. And instead of beating myself up for not doing the workout, I took the stairs today and I gave myself a frickin' break. Oh, wow. That felt better. And I'm really excited to start again tomorrow because I know I'm someone who prioritizes my health. It's all mindset. We like with these people, and me too, it's a lot of it is we have to just like give ourselves a bit of a break. People just think that if they give themselves a break, they're just gonna it's like a cop out and then they're not gonna be able to do it. They're not gonna be able to stick to the plan. That's not true. You know in your heart, like, is this a real break or is this like an excuse? Like it's finding that balance. That's the tightrope we have to walk. If we really want to feel good, right? Because like, I don't know, a lot of us have gotten the fitness goals and still didn't feel good. So ultimately when I'm working with people, it's because I want them to feel good.
Feel good.
Regardless of your plan.
And it's so true, particularly in any sort of space where perfectionism is, so prevalent in our personalities. So what I'm learning, and Jake, and I'm curious to hear my biggest take home is one of the most powerful things we can do to form a habit is to really to really hone in. And we talk about this all the time, but on our why in a really specific way so that it gives us a reason to come back and it gives us ways to find the small little bits of dopamine through little actions over the course of the day that align with our whys. My question is sometimes, and I've even struggled with this when somebody like, what is your why? I can say a really broad one. Like for me, I can say personally right now, like my why as I'm just about to hit my 50th birthday milestone is truly to continue to live the energetic, active lifestyle that I like to protect it. Like yourself, it sounds like we have some similar hobbies. I'm a big skier. I love to mountain bike. I love to hike. I love to ski of all ski tours, downhill, cross country, all the things that require a certain level of physical activity. And I want to be able to protect the things that I love. Like that is my why. Is that enough? Do we need to be more specific? Do we get like more down into the weeds of those whys, or is like the bigger picture a good place to start? I'm just thinking about the women driving now. What is my why? Like, what is like, like, how do I find, versus the generic, like, I want to be healthier. I want to be, which we all want, but does it need to be meatier than that?
It needs to be meatier when we're starting to change the habit. So yes, because your brain's going to resist. So until you've developed, like you and I are the person that prioritizes our health. We've already value tagged it enough that, yeah, there's some days I don't really feel like it, but I have zero concern of me not being someone who's active. Like I had a heart attack last year. Wholly other story was pericarditis from COVID, like whole.
Oh my God.
And I was in the Ottawa Heart Institute and I couldn't work out for 3 months. I had no question in my mind that I would be back. I was itching to get back. Why? Because I've been able to create a lifestyle where exercise is so core to who I am. So in the beginning, just having a why is not enough. That's why I do a 3-month program and why you guys have programs. We do need accountability, but we need to start with my point is come in with the why and value tag it versus my goal is to lose weight. Okay, well, let's get a little bit deeper. Cool. What is your goal? Well, the goal is not to lose weight. The goal is it's because of the feeling that you're going to get, right? So if we can sink into wanting to feel more like that every day, and then yes, we need some small goals. I call them my weekly goals. Like my clients have, okay, what does that look like? Because if we stay too much in the theoretical, ain't nothing going to get done. The brain's just going to take over again. But if we set the goal in the shame, the long term, it's less likely to stick to it long term, right? Like you might stick to it 3 weeks, 2 months, you might have hit a couple milestones, but you haven't convinced your brain why this is worth it in the long term because it's attached to something that's like, I'm not enough already, right? If it's like, I really just want to feel energetic, I've got a spectrum of things I can do. I've got a plan A, B, and C. I am someone who prioritizes my health. I'm training my brain every morning to convince myself that I actually like this, that I do have the time, that it's great. I still at the beginning have to have actual goals because, okay, and then you play with the habit change science, right? So what is realistic for you? Okay, well, for me, it's going to be 20 minutes 3 times a week. Okay, well, guess what? At the beginning, when you go into that woods with the machete, it's going to be hard. So that's where the accountability comes in. I do the same thing. We've got group calls, we've got metrics, because as we're building the neural pathway, the brain is going to fight you. So when I would say it takes about, everyone says, how long does it take to change a habit? 28 days is bull. That's not true. It really depends on the person and the habit. What I see is it takes like about 3 months to even start feeling the flow. But for some people, it's like 5, 6, 7, 8 months to really feel good in it, but it's the flexibility. Like if I was on the radio in Ottawa one day and they're like, what is the one trait of the people who maintain healthy habits? And I'm like, flexibility. Like they're okay. They can do the plan ABC, they can do the vacation, they can get sick, but they can come back to it. And it's because they've changed their mindset around it. So I wanted to make sure I did say, like, you still do need a plan. Like, you still do need a plan at the beginning because it's everything is around the brain is going to not want to do it. So, how are you going to? Accountability is awesome, right? Make it more fun, make it obvious, essentially reduce as much friction between you and the goal as you can. And that might mean having someone you've got to, check in with or doing it with a friend because you're really trying to trick your brain at the beginning that this is something that's normal for us and that we're going to be able to do it longer term. But then it gets easier. Absolutely. And people should know that if they go about it the right way, it will get easier. It will become who they are.
I love that you brought up flexibility because that's my biggest thing in the nutrition space. I'm like, the more
Yes.
flexible you are around food, the more successful you are, which is why I hate food rules of any description and
Me
why
too.
I'm always breaking those down. So it's like we've talked before, Katie, and we haven't,
Yes.
but we're
Yeah,
clearly
similarities.
it actually makes me feel reassured that without having a master's in neuroscience, that the coaching that we're doing is aligning what the science says. So thank you. This conversation has been
Yeah.
amazing.
No
Jake, I
problem.
feel like
Yeah.
I've been hogging her. I always hog. I give the microphone to you for any questions.
No, I don't have any questions. I got a lot of takeaways from this, and I loved a couple quotes. There's no place for shame in the health game was awesome. I love the plan A, B, and C. I think that's something that we can actually implement, especially in the beginning of our phases with both fitness and nutrition. And yeah, just a lot of takeaways. So we'll finish by saying, Katie, I'm sure lots of listeners are going to be out there trying to find you. So make it easy
Mhm.
for them. Where can they
Yeah.
go and learn more about what you do?
Sure. So my website's Healthy Confident You, so you.com. I do a lot of keynote speeches and corporate workplace wellness stuff, but I also have a training program, so they can find a coaching program, so they can find that there or on the socials, Katie Faloon-Drew, 1L 2 O's. I'm sure you'll have it tagged in the notes, my name, so they can find me.
Absolutely.
They can find me through my name. I'm on Instagram and all the things. Yep.
So
Yep.
good. Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for
Thanks for
sharing
having
your
me.
knowledge and wisdom. And yeah, it's another podcast where Suzanne and I, we want to get this information out to our listeners, but we also learn so much, and it's what we love so much about doing these episodes. So thank you again.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.